And I have with me today the humble, sweet, God fearing parents of Richard Brandon Coleman. Mr. and Mrs. Judson, please say hello to the public. They need to hear your voice.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello there. Um, I want to get right into it because, like I have been saying for the past 5 months, we are working against money and power. And the facts are being revealed, things are moving and shaking with other cases, but we still have Richard Brandon Coleman, who has been caught in the web of deception, trickery, and manipulation at its finest. What can we do as a collective to change this hideous narrative? I want to ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Judson. When you got word of this egregious anomaly, where were you at the time?
We were here in Georgia.
Okay.
We were at home.
Hmm.
Right. Got the call.
And how can you give us an example of how that call went, if it's not too much for you, Mrs. Judson?
Um, it hit like a rock. It was shattering. It was yeah. It was very much so heart wrenching um, when he made the call and told us that he was locked up.
Mm, mm. So it wasn't the fact of what he was even charged with, just to know that your innocent son was locked up was mortifying as a mother. Now, once you heard what he was locked up for, what was your first thought, Mrs. Johnson?
Um, it was heartbreaking. It was I couldn't understand why um such a hideous thing was brought upon him like that. And he's never been in trouble a day in his life. He's a protector. He's not someone that would harm anybody with anything. He would try to help them before he harmed them.
And
And so that,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. So that really broke my heart. And for the people who've done it is, why would you do it? Yeah, for us knowing that the Jakes have done it, it was hurtful because we really looked up to him and we believed in him. Family.
Let me ask you. So, when you say the Jakes, specifically his ex-wife, or
Yes.
would you say that the parents had no knowledge of this situation? Yes or
Um, no,
no? Mm.
they had acknowledgement. I believe all of them had acknowledgement. It just wasn't something that she did on her own.
Mm.
Um, I believe that it was known, it was told to everyone, and everyone
Mm.
took part.
From my investigation and discovery with this case, there was a son that did make a statement stating that Brandon didn't do this. There also was a witness who also stated that um, Cora knew that the daughter was lying. So, as grandparents looking in at this, let's say, as an advocate, when I take cases, I look at it as a picture hanging on the wall. As grandparents looking at the family picture of this hanging on the wall, the dust that was on the picture, give the dust a name and tell me, if you were me, what would need to be removed? dealing
First of
with from the children to Cora herself, as well as the friend.
well, um, in my opinion, I believe the children need to be uh, where they initially uh, were supposed to be, and that's with their parents.
Right.
Right.
We really don't feel as though um, parenthood was something that was ready, and
Okay.
knowing that because we've witnessed it many times. Um,
Yeah, I living there with
yeah, and
Right.
with Amari constantly lying, you have to correct that many, many, many times.
them.
So you
And
literally,
so,
I'm sorry, Mrs. Judson. So you literally lived there and aided in redirecting and giving examples of proper child rearing to try to guide and assist Cora along her downtrodden parental ways.
Yes,
to the best of our ability.
that's it. I mean, we ain't saying we perfect parents or whatever, but when we
Right.
saw right is right and wrong is wrong, we try to step in and help correct.
And how many times have you heard the children complain about so many different people coming in and out of their personal safe space called a home?
Well, Amari stood up because Jason at the time, I guess, was, you know, too small and young to really even, speak on any of it. But she used to come to us whining and crying about it sometimes.
Mm,
And we understood, that she's right. She just wanted time with her parents
wow, wow.
and not a lot of outside
And her
influence.
family.
Hmm.
She just wanted the family around.
Right.
She didn't want a whole bunch of people in and out all the time, and her not having the quality time that she was so desiring.
Hmm.
That
It was just becoming overwhelming.
Right. When you all found out about Cora needing or wanting or desiring or demanding a extra marital situation, what was your advice to your son in dealing with that? Because so many times, but in this situation, it was literally his wife. And so when you find a man who wants to protect his family, um, it's something to really stand up for and applaud. But how do we look at this woman who chooses to desecrate her marriage, let alone the entity in which she is a heir to?
Um, I just feel this is me, and this is how I was raised. If you're going to be with one, be with one.
Hmm.
If you feel like you don't want to be with that one anymore,
let them go.
let them go.
Mhm.
Have that much. If you even love the person, have that much love for them to let them go, so that you can move on to whatever it is that you want to do. And that's something that I passed along to our children. We pass along to our children because it's right. You
Right.
don't want to, be in a situation and then all of a sudden decide, oh, I don't want to be in this situation no more. And, sacrifice whoever you're not in love with anymore for someone that you are in love with. That is not between, you know, um, that's not our business. It's
Right.
between you and God.
Right.
You
Right.
have to rectify that with God, not doing whatever you feel like it, like as
Hmm.
though you were God.
Hmm.
Playing God is is walking on dangerous grounds, and
Yes. Yes.
I just feel like that was the case. Like if you weren't happy any longer, or you didn't
Hmm.
want it any longer,
Hmm.
just let it be. We didn't raise our son to be a stalker or a person who, come to bust down your door because it's over. No.
Right.
We raise our children to, if it's over, respect the fact that it's over.
Through my research, I have found every church member that I have interviewed has said the nicest things about your son. And they've said terrible things about his ex wife. And, it baffles me, excuse me, that our society that we live in today cannot even protect these children from this situation. Michelle Loud needs her kid back. And
Yes.
and Amari's mother, who went to the church to seek asylum, who was deported at the church where she thought she was safe, where she was taking refuge, another child stolen. These are two kids that was taken from their mom.
Yes. And that's the way we feel. Our child was taken from us as well.
Yes. These are three children that have been manipulated. Brandon Coleman was manipulated into thinking that he was going to have a blissful, happy life. He did everything he could to keep his family safe.
That he did.
He even put himself on child support of the kids that were not even his, but honored that piece of paper that he signed to adopt them, not knowing that this paperwork probably wasn't right. This man has been caught up in a web of deception, manipulation, and trickery at its highest level. And when he chose to walk away for his own self safety, this is what happens to him. The same thing happened to Michelle: manipulation, coercion under the same instruction of the same judge.
Yes.
Right.
This young man went from, can you explain when your son was arrested? He was arrested in different little counties they took him to. Explain how they did your son the day he was arrested. Explain how his Miranda rights were not read. Explain that.
Yeah.
We asked him, "What did they read you your rights?" And he said no. And we were like, okay, so we dropped that down. So after the fact, I think when we was able to speak to him, we asked again, did they read your rights before any question that when they got you to what was it, Ellis? But he went somewhere. Where did he go? That's kind of first.
He went to Grand Prairie first.
Mm-hmm.
So he went to Tarrant County first, and he sat there for 2 weeks without identity. And,
what?
Right.
And so we could not find him nowhere in the system. He didn't really have anything in the system until he got to Ellis.
Right.
So you mean to tell me he sat 2 weeks lost in the system with no identity?
Correct.
So I wonder who orchestrated that and who signed for that. In Tarrant County?
That's where they took him. They took him in Grand Prairie. And Grand Prairie seems to be the starting point of everything. And I couldn't understand, and I just felt like, what is really going on? Like, he's not in the system. It was as if he was kidnapped. And I felt, I felt like I feared for his safety, because here it is, we can't find our son. How is that? And it took even a week or two in Ellis County for him to even have something in the system. So I'm like,
what's going on?
What's really going on at this point? And that was very hurtful, because we played it over and over and over. Like, we lost one,
which
Mm.
y'all, in which they assisted us on bearing uh, one of our sons.
So the
And I
Jakes
believe
assisted, meaning they.
financial help less to help bear
Very
our
own senses. Yes.
Mm,
and
mm,
it hurts to think that, well, why would you
Try to do another.
do this to Brandon when you helped us bury one of our sons,
mm,
and that hurts. That hurts a whole lot on that accord.
And especially for a young man who loved this family as if it was his own,
yes.
and his wife, and treated them as his own family, even though we were never treated as family.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
we just felt like as long as our son is happy,
We was all right.
we were all right with that.
Yeah.
We were fine with that.
I have there was a story told of how one of my witnesses told me that your your ex daughter-in-law was involved in a business deal, and because of her wayward behavior out at an event, it was so bad that your son came to her and said, "Man, hey, look, you got to stop this. You got to stop acting like this, man. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop doing and acting and saying and treating these people like that." He was trying to protect his family interest. And it's a shame that this family is not protecting him when all he
Right.
did was stand and wait for his moment to shine in a storm, in a storm of a bottom shelf family, trying to
Yeah,
shine his light of love and change his immediate wife's narrative, but it never happened. It
Nope.
was
yeah,
engulfed with a power literally bigger than him. Mm, mm, mm.
yeah. And we believe that uh, upon getting intertwined with the family,
Mhm.
uh, there were things way before him that was going on. I think he just ended up being in the midst of it.
Okay, well,
And
hold on one second, Mrs. Judson. We're going to take a commercial break and we will get right back into that. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go to commercial break. Go get you some more popcorn, go get you something to drink, and we'll be right back in a few seconds. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. We're back. I hope you got you something to drink. And I hope you got some more snacks because we are getting ready to get into it. Um, my name is Dominique Morris, and I'm here with the parents of Richard Brandon Coleman. Mr. and Mrs. Coleman, please say hello, and we'll get right back into it.
hi, how was everyone?
Hello, how is it?
All right, viewers. Well, we were just talking about how Mr. Coleman has literally gotten caught up in the Jake's web of deception and trickery and coercion and manipulation. But what can we do as a collective? We can inform ourselves about the facts. And Mrs. Judson, I want to ask you, you were last saying that you believe that these things, were already going on and your son literally has just got, caught up in the mess of it. And when you say the mess of it, not the involvement of it, but the mess of it because you were married to this family, as well as any other outsider that was married into this family. It is a situation where you're gonna run from it if you're making the right choice. So, can you explain a little bit more about what was going on previously, you believe, or you may have speculatory inclinations of?
Well, it just seems so evident. Like um, we used to talk on a regular basis um, about almost everything.
So
And, and
let me ask you a question, real quick. So you mean to tell me you at what point did you stop communicating with your son's wife?
um, it's been a long time. Uh, we stopped communicating, I guess, it was more or less like stop, telling your family or your parents everything. Stop, telling them our business. You know,
Mm,
that that really bothered me a whole
wow.
lot. Um, and I spent many days and many nights crying behind it because we only talk about everything.
So she started the divide and conquer thing with the family.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm,
right.
mm, mm, mm. How dare! And so and you see the cycle, right? You see everything she wants, she divides and conquers. She did it with
Yeah,
Bianca, not Bianca, but that used to be her old name, the little girl. She did it with baby Jason, with Michelle Loud. So at what point is she stopped?
um,
It's clear as day.
yeah. It never stopped, and I believe that's when it started getting worse. We didn't know a whole lot.
Right.
We
Yeah,
didn't know um, like what was going on. We just knew that
something
something
was
was
going
wrong.
on.
Right.
And
Mm,
for parents to children, we have a connection. Like
mhm.
you know what what happened, and we often think about why does this family hate us so much? Why do they not think of us as family? I mean,
Mhm.
we've never done anything to them,
Well, so you got to
and
remember that this is not the typical family. These people only look up to people that praise them. If you're not praising them or looking up to them or worshiping them, you will not be a part of the flock.
Right.
Only people that are unconscious in the brain will worship man. In the spirit, unconscious in the spirit will worship man. But when you are conscious in the spirit of the Lord, you will see the trickery. You will see uh, 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 thunders of manipulation and things that are negative to one's spiritual journey. And that is exactly what you saw. You saw the fake, the acting, the acts of prayer, the acts of speaking in tongue, the acts of it. Hola hola and
Yeah.
sing. I'm done. What's the difference? Nothing is different.
we really just want our son home.
Right.
We want him
Yes.
safe. We want him with his family,
Yes.
and um, we miss him, and you know, um,
Don't
we don't understand why to this extent. They didn't
Mhm.
even have to go this far.
it's knowing he's innocent.
Let
At the
me
point just drop this. Y'all know he's innocent. I don't know why y'all will still press on.
has the Jakes reached out to you, mother and father to mother and father at all during this
No,
whole thing?
not at all.
At one time,
So you mean to tell me the world renowned pastor, the spiritual father of the world, the spiritual prophet, the bishop, aka the business the black businessman of America. You mean to tell me that he did not reach out to the parents
Oh,
Not one time.
of have mercy, have
Not
mercy.
one time. And I don't understand.
And
You
did you
know,
all
I
not live with the Jakes at one point in time?
no, we always
never.
with Brandon and Cora.
But
We never stayed.
but wasn't it on their property?
No, they first of all they had their own home in Grand Prairie at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So
And that
how often were you personable enough with these people to where they could call you and talk about this?
yes,
We would think so. We thought so. But
Mm.
evidently not.
we know for a fact. I know Cora has our numbers.
Yes. Well, one thing about it, because we know that Brandon Coleman's phone has been on during the time that he was still in jail with all of these charges, with all of this stuff, his family phone that he had with his family, with Cora, was still on. Thing is, if it was still on, you know she knows what's in it. And what
Exactly.
I'm telling the public is that we have got to not turn a blind eye to injustice. Mr. and Mrs. Judson, I want to give Mrs. Judson the opportunity to speak. Mother, Mrs. Judson to Mrs. Jakes, Mrs. Sarita Jakes, Mrs. Bernice Judson to Mrs. Sarita Jakes. What would you say?
I would say why. I would say that if there was ever any love for our son, to please rectify it. You know he's innocent. You know he didn't do it. You know that that is not even his character or the type of person he is. Help our son come home.
Hmm.
Help him come home. Help free him.
Yes, yes. All right, Mr. Judson, father to father, from the bottom of your heart to the very blood that courses through your veins. Tell Mr. Thomas Jakes, father to father, what you really want to say with all due respect, because I respect myself. You have the
I would
platform.
say too, as being a father, we're the head of the household, and we're the head of our children. And I think at a particular time we were speaking about trying to keep our children under umbrella, and always trying to protect them. But yet we know that at a point in time they're gonna go their ways. And
Yes.
what I would say is just this, you have children. If the shoe was on the other foot, and knowing this is not the truth, and if, like you said, if God is in your heart, that you would step in as Father and cease all of it, no matter where it started from. If it started from my daughter, if it's wrong, as back in the day, our elders taught us, right and wrong is wrong, regardless of it.
Yes.
So you stand in it, shut it down. Just shut it down when you know it's not the truth.
Yes.
Not about
That's amazing. And what I want to say is, as the street advocate for Richard Brandon Coleman, I am asking for justice. I am asking the Jakes to do your due diligence. With all the wrong going on, do something right for the public in the public's eye. Again, I'm Dominique Morris. I am the street advocate for Richard Brandon Coleman. And to my viewers, be safe out there in them streets.